Before we start, I have to shout out this hoodie for being so cute. Look, it's from Walmart. I am so excited to talk about this case because I remember the first time that I heard about it. This story about these twins creeps me out on another level. Preparing yourselves. Get yourself a snack, get yourself a drink. I have a pumpkin spice latte iced from McDonald's. These are actually pretty good. I'm so nervous to talk about this case because I really want to do it justice because it's so interesting. We are going to be talking about a pair of identical twins named June and Jennifer. So June and Jennifer were born on April 11th, 1963. And like I said, they were identical twins. And they pretty much knew they were identical twins from the moment they were born. I think the reason it might freak me out so much is I have two older brothers and they are twins. They are fraternal twins, which means they are not identical, basically. They look absolutely nothing alike. Having twins in the family and researching this case, it was just spooky. As they started to grow up, their parents started to notice that they had a bit of a speech impediment, but they could perfectly understand each other. And it was so frustrating to them that they could understand each other perfectly, but to everyone else, they kept asking, "What did you say? What are you saying?" And they kept having to repeat themselves, and eventually they just stopped talking. They even invented their own language. And this is an actual phenomenon with twins or siblings. They create their own language that only they understand. And this is so funny because my mom constantly tells stories about how when my brothers were babies and they were in cribs on two sides of the room, they would be standing in their crib looking at each other just blah, 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 like baby talk at each other. The other one would respond like they knew what they were saying to each other, and I'm like, but it was later discovered that the girls didn't actually invent their own language. It was English, just super sped up. I should mention that this all takes place in the UK. When the girls entered school, they were very good students, but they wouldn't speak. So teachers were really frustrated just not being able to communicate with them. They were bullied quite a bit. At the school they attended at this time, they were the only African American girls. Actually, the only African American students. On top of that, they're identical twins, they have a speech impediment, they don't talk. And it got so bad that teachers started letting the girls leave an hour early from school every day to avoid the bullying. The girls did end up going to a child psychologist where they were diagnosed with selective mutism, which is a childhood anxiety disorder. While they were in school, they were very closed off, wouldn't speak to other students, and they would sit together at lunch and would literally be in their own little bubble. This even continued into their home life. When they were out of school, they would lock themselves in their bedroom. They would not eat or drink in front of anyone. And if they wanted to watch a show on TV, they would literally write a letter to their parents letting them know the show they wanted to watch and the time, and their parents would angle the TV towards their bedroom so that they could open the door and sit in their bedroom and watch the TV. They did have a younger sister named Rosie, and she lived in the same room with her sisters. When she lived in the room, she was kind of like a part of the bubble, I guess you could call it. They would do normal things that kids do. They just had a special way of doing it. Once Rosie moved out, the girls basically considered her to be an outsider and just stopped talking to her. They even started walking in sync. I can't imagine like purposefully walking in sync with someone and doing everything at the same time, like eating the same way at the same time. It would be spooky. And it turns out that the girls did not like living this way. They actually wanted to be independent and separate individuals. Their parents decided to separate them. This did not go well. They would stop eating, drinking, dressing, and they would even become catatonic. For their own good, their parents had to put them back together. The girls did end up finding a hobby that really helped them and gave them a sense of purpose. They started to write books. They actually had hopes of publishing their books one day, but sadly this did not work out and it crushed them. It pushed them to a really dark place. When they were 16, they met a pair of twins from America who were visiting for the summer, and they were just thick as thieves. They wanted to do everything together, but the girls would fight over the boys. It was really towards the end of this summer when things started to change. The boys had to go back to America to return to school, and this caused the girls to become violent. They burned down a local store, and the way that they were caught, in Jennifer's diary, she wrote about them going to set fire to this random business and how she was proud of doing it. So they did get caught and they went to jail, and jail was not good for them because they would either be put in the same cell and they would be fighting, or they would be put in separate cells and become almost catatonic. So it was such a hectic and chaotic period of time. At 19, they were deemed to be mentally unstable and they were sent to a mental facility where they were kept in completely separate wards. Sadly, they were misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. They did not have schizophrenia, but they were on medication for schizophrenia, and they were also given tranquilizers. Because of these medications, they did start to actually speak, and they spent 12 years in this hospital. Now, this is where things get really like out of my realm of understanding. Eventually, they were given more privileges. They did start writing to each other again. Jennifer wrote a letter to June saying that she knew she was going to die first. It only gets more and more eerie. A month before the girls turned 30, they were being transferred to a new facility, and this facility was going to be so much better for them. They were going to have more freedom. While they were being transferred, Jennifer started to complain of being in pain. After they arrived at the facility, they did take Jennifer to the hospital, and she died a few days later on March 9th from natural causes. I believe it was swelling of the heart. June ended up staying in the new facility for about a year, and then she was actually released on March 18th, 1994. And when June talks about the death of her sister, she admits that they had had discussions and they both had this sense, they both knew that one of them had to die to let the other live a full, happy, natural, normal life, because when they were together, it was so chaotic and so toxic that they knew that one of them had to die. June has said that she dealt with a lot of guilt over being the one that got to live. I've heard a few theories on this. It's possible that these twins were one soul split in two, and in order for the soul to be one of the twins had to die. The fact that they both knew that eventually one of them needed to die for the other to move on with life is what blows my mind. Like, I cannot understand it. It's like, it's creepy to me. It's really unsettling. I can't imagine how June must feel trying to adjust to living on her own. But she has said that she feels a sense of almost being released so that she can live her life. So I think that's just wild and creepy and sad and spooky, and this case gets me every single time that I think about it. I'm like, what happened? Why? Why? That is the Silent Twins case. I want to know what your thoughts on this case are, what you think happened. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I am uploading every single day of October for Vlogtober. If you're interested in following me on social media, I will link all of that down below. Until the next video,